Okay, Liz, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it as always.
Thank you.
How does it feel to be returning back to the cage after all this time?
It feels great. It's always been my thing. I hate waiting for fights. And after the last fight, it's been about a year since I fought again, just a little bit over there. And I was really hoping that I could keep up that tempo with getting 2 to 3 fights a year. And then just COVID, obviously, for everybody, threw a wrench in the plans. But it's finally here, and I'm just excited to be able to go out there.
Let's talk about your fight against DeAnna Bennett. What are your thoughts of her? Have you looked at video of her? Tell us your thoughts on your opponent.
Yeah, I've studied tape on her. My coaches, teammates, everybody studied tape. So we're definitely prepared going in there. She's a veteran just like I am. We have the same amount of fights. We've been in the fight game for the same amount of time. Both fought in different organizations. So it's not like I'm going in there with somebody that is an easy fight. She's going to be a hard matchup just like my entire career. And I know that going into it, so I've prepared with everything I have for the toughest fight of my life.
Now, you beat her. What is your future goals with Bellator? There's rumors of a 125 tournament, Grand Prix, whatever you want to call it. Is that something you'd be interested in participating in? Or do you want to take maybe 1 or 2 more fights before facing Macfarlane, if she's still champion? What's the trajectory?
My focus right now is just this fight and whatever Bellator hands my way. I know with the limitations because of COVID that we're restricted on who can come into the country. Obviously, we can't even go to Hawaii for fights. Mm-hmm. So that's going to change the dynamic of everything, their plan and ours. So really, if the next few fights is Ilima, or if that's the tournament, I don't care. I just want to keep getting fights under my belt and just keep on going with this.
Now, you and Macfarlane, both friends, both trained together. Just curious to know, I don't know if you've ever competed against a friend before or somebody who you know very well, but what is that like versus competing against someone who you don't have any sort of relationship with? How do you train for a fight mentally for something like that?
It's not really that much different for me. I have trained with friends before and fought against friends, competed in one format or another. And the only difference is at the end of the night is I know I can embrace them and give them a really good hug. We can both leave there together, both be in medicals, high-fiving each other, and having that reassurance that we gave it everything we have. And I would much rather fight somebody I know genuinely cares of me. So like when they're bashing and hitting each other with elbows, smashing faces, trying to submit each other, that we both know that it's really not for any hatred, for animosity. It's simply because we both love this sport. We want to put on a good show, and we can go out and have dinner and drinks after.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things I'm also curious to know is that you did compete in Quintet last year. It was a very cool event. If you love grappling, watch Quintet. Is that something you want to do? Do you want to do more grappling like that? Maybe a submission underground? Do you want to go into any other types of martial arts? Or are you just focusing on MMA at this point?
Really, I do want to make my main priority to be MMA right now. I do grappling events, whether it's submissions or it's any type of things like Quintet, whether it's the all-female format or it's the mixed format, doesn't matter. I do that just to kind of fill the space and to test myself between fights. When I get wind that I'm not going to get booked for a few months, then I go out and I do grappling as much as possible. Now, I would absolutely do other combat sports, but the risk of an injury or getting cut is a lot higher. Mm-hmm. And the chance that I would get cut or get injured, and that would cost me if I'm not willing to do it. So grappling to me is a much safer option there. And it allows me just to strengthen something that I really have the ability to get as many training partners ready for.
Gotcha. So there's also one of the few openly LGBT people that does compete. Curious to know, how do you think the sport has evolved in terms of acceptance of people that are LGBT? Has it gotten better since you started? Has it not changed? Has it gotten worse? What is your perception of people in that category and them going into martial arts?
I think that it's improved substantially. I mean, for me entering into the sport, when I just come out of the Marine Corps and during Don't Ask, Don't Tell, when a lot of gyms wouldn't even accept females to train there, regardless of what their sexual preferences were, they wouldn't even allow them in. Now you find that one of the stronger teams that you usually see is the female teams in the gyms. And they dominate and they're consistent, and coaches are willing to work with them more because ego set aside, it's just about work ethic. And then when you combat that with finding more and more women that are feeling more comfortable to embrace their sexual preferences and to state that outwardly, it's just getting better and better. I mean, you see Amanda Nunes. She's a rising star. She's openly an LGBTQ participant as well. And then there's a lot of other people like Jessica Andrade. And so you see all these champions that are starting to rise up, and that would have never happened years ago. Everybody was afraid to, because when I started, they're like, hey, if you do this, you may not get sponsored, you may not get booked for fights. Now that plays absolutely no role, and that's a huge difference that you weren't seeing before.
Now, it seems that for women it's a little bit easier to be out in the sport as opposed to men. Do you think that will change in the future, or do you think that's just going to be a stigma, or just going to be something that men will not be feeling comfortable coming out with?
I think it's going to have to change. Society is always evolving. Things you're having to adapt, and you have to accept more things that maybe you didn't before. That's the evolution of who we are. So it's a matter of time where a man's going to step up. He's going to be a champion and come out there and say like, hey, this is my boyfriend or my husband. And people are like, oh, I'm like, well, you can't deny a champion, right? That's a lot harder to do. So I think once that starts happening, we have more men that start stepping up, and we have like a strong role model to lead the way. It's just a matter of time before more men feel comfortable, and you have to accept them.
And how does it feel competing with no audience? Are you looking forward to that? Are you going to miss the energy, the crowd yelling? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, to some degree, of course, I'm going to miss the energy. I mean, having the crowd there, hearing their enthusiasm, whether it's negative or positive, that always fuels me in a fight. I don't care if they're booing me or they're cheering me on. That energy is always just, it's electric, and it feeds you in the fight. But at the same time, it's really nice when I walk out and I'm just in the zone and trying to think about my fight, not having people touch me, like sweaty armpits all over me, not like seeing people cough and rub their noses and tap me on the shoulder and I'm disgusted. At least none of that's a factor anymore. I can just go in, do my job, and then get out of there.
We're trying to steal your hat. That always seems to be a thing. That always seems to be the thing, that fans always try to steal the hat of the...
hat or clothes, or it's like, hey, can I have your jacket? I'm like, whoa, I'm attached to this. No, you can't have my jacket.
Any last minute thoughts about this fight coming up that you want to just say? Get off your chest. Anything you want to say to DeAnna Bennett? Floor is yours.
No, I'm just excited. It's another veteran. It's a tough fight. I've never had an easy fight. This is not going to be any different. And I'm definitely looking forward to going in there, both of us putting on a great debut and showing that the women deserve to be here.
Great. Thank you very much, Liz. Appreciate it.
Thank you.